I feel like Pablo. Hello everyone, Ryan here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the long-awaited sophomore album from Lorde titled Melodrama. Lorde is a singer-songwriter, pop singer, art pop singer hailing from New Zealand, and she broke out in 2013 at just 16 years old, which was quite incredible considering how mature she was for her age as well, and her songwriting was really ahead of her age that you would expect from a 16-year-old, and she broke out huge with the album Pure Heroine and also obviously the single Royals. Royals was a single which felt incredibly new for its time because it ripped apart pop culture and the way teenagers are these days in a way that not many other pop songs had ever done before, and I absolutely love that song. I think although there was a lot of people that think that song's overrated and didn't really think there was much to the music, but for me I thought it was one of the freshest sounding songs and the entire album as well of 2013. It was easily one of my favourites of that year. For me, I didn't think there was anyone else really out there like that, and considering she was only 16 years old, she came out with an album better than anything that Miley Cyrus had ever done, Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez, all the kind of pop contemporaries had pretty much just been obliterated by this one album that came out from a 16-year-old. Now, Melodrama has been a long time waiting for Lorde fans, and for me, I didn't kind of mind that it took so long for this album to come out because I was of the mindset that if she was able to craft something that good at 16 years old, then think about how good her music would be when she matures even more in like 4 or 5 years' time. And of course, she has matured massively on Melodrama. There's a huge growth with her lyricism on this album in comparison to the first album, even though the lyricism was fine on that album, it was great as it was, but it seems as though she's gone through a bit of a breakup, kind of a bit of a personal change in her life that she is now writing about on this new album. And we get that right from the start of this album on the track Greenlight, where she's essentially writing here about how she wants to get that green light, pass through it, and get over this heartbreak that she's going through, but she isn't quite there yet. And although the track is a little bit contradictory though, because it has such an uplifting sound that you would kind of think that she has got there. Like, the uplifting sound would imply that she's already gotten past this relationship and she's over it, but it's cleverly done because it's kind of a way to mask the fact that she's hiding behind her true feelings. She's acting happy, just like the music sounds happy, but in fact she's not happy and she isn't there yet at all. And on a few of these songs, you get the sense that she's trying to hide behind these feelings by being with her friends, getting drunk a lot, which is her way of kind of suppressing the feelings and emotions that she's going through, where in reality, getting drunk all the time probably isn't really helping her get over it. We get this on the song Homemade Dynamite, which is easily one of my favourites on the whole album. This is where she's talking about blowing shit up in a sense that, she's with her friends, everything's going crazy, and it's all about having a crazy fun time. But the beat on this song reminds me of like 2006 era of like Nelly Furtado, like her music where it was produced by Timbaland. Like, the beat is honestly so similar to that sound, and I actually think this is a really good compliment for it because I like that style that Nelly Furtado had back in the day. And she goes into a higher pitch with the vocals on the chorus, and I think it sounds honestly really catchy as hell. This song gets stuck in my head so easily. And a few of these songs have managed to creep their way into my mind. I mean, a lot of them on this album are really well made pop songs, but the biggest Achilles heel for me on this album is the Louvre. Now, this track doesn't necessarily start off so bad, but as soon as it gets to that chorus, I'm just out of that song instantly. Broadcasts a boom, 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 and I'll make 'em all dance to it. I mean, really, Lord, like, that was the best you could have come up with? I mean, the music at that point just completely drains away as well. It's just such a slow moment of the song, and I get the reference to like a heart on that song, the boom 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 being a heart, but even that's not exactly that great of a metaphor. I mean, it's been done so many times before and it just doesn't sound good either. So it's a real shame that this track kind of slows down the album for me, but then we do get into Liability, which is a really unique song for Lorde because this is one of the first times that she's really dug deep into a piano ballad, and it goes over so well. This song is actually more of a reference to the fact that during this time of her issues and problems that she's been going through, she's actually become a bit of a liability to her friends and her family and people around her, and suddenly she's starting to notice that people aren't as interested in having her around. On first listen, I didn't think much to this song at all, but it's actually a really heartbreaking song, and I've loved this new side to Lorde that we see on this track. It's a certain change up from the previous tracks to this, because a lot of those songs were referencing like dancing and stuff like that, so I feel as though during this time she's certainly been getting in parties and dancing around to kind of mask the emotions that she's feeling. We definitely get that on the track Sober, which has interesting production as well. This is a really unique style for Lorde. I've never heard her do anything like this, and I think it actually goes over really well. But one thing that doesn't go over too well, I think, is on Hard Feelings, where the instrumentation goes kind of like experimental and strange, and there's this harsh sound on the track. But the second half to the song Loveless is a really good moment. I think that kind of redeems the first part of the track Hard Feelings, but it's just a shame that Hard Feelings goes on a little bit too long. I really do like on Loveless as well how she references today's generation, and it's kind of like, oh well, this is what it's about now. We're all about making our relationships a bit abusive, and we're all masochists, and we like the pain that we experience from the other side. I think she's more commenting on the fact that romance is dead, that kind of thing that maybe older generations go on about these days, but I think it's more of a clever observation on the way society looks at relationships and stuff like that. And it's kind of reminds me of Pure Heroine, because that entire album was that focus, and I like that she's gone back to that style there. I do think Sober Part 2 and the Liability Reprise are weaker tracks in the track listing as well. It kind of hinders me from loving this album as a whole, because I could kind of easily skip those songs, to be honest. But I do love Writer in the Dark. I think that is the best Kate Bush-esque vocals that Lorde has ever been able to do, and it also reminds me of Joanna Newsom as well, and I do love the vocal work on this track. She really does manage to display quite a lot of variety in her vocals across this album. She goes up so many different ranges and goes through different paths. It's quite interesting. But then we do end up getting this triumphant closing track, Perfect Places, which you can clearly tell Jack Antonoff had his hands on this track, because it totally sounds like something Bleachers would have made. But I think this track essentially is basically commenting on how, things aren't quite as perfect as they are when you're a teenager, and everything she's displayed up until this point on the album kind of demonstrates that. And the young people will always try everything they possibly can to take them to that perfect place, like drinking and taking drugs, but it never really amounts to anything. And as much as I do love this track as a standalone track, I'm not really sure if it closes the album in the best kind of way, because it doesn't really tie up any sort of emotions that Lorde has been going through on the whole album. It's not really referencing any of that. It's kind of just another, well, we've been drinking this whole time kind of anthem, and we've been partying and dancing, just like a lot of these other tracks on the album do too. I just wish there was some kind of closure to the album, but it does kind of leave me in a happy sort of mood, because there are some high emotions throughout this whole album, and I think this is a very relatable album for younger people. I do think this is a really good album. I just think there's something holding me back from loving it, and I think there are just a couple of tracks that I could easily skip, so therefore I would probably go with a C+. I do think this is a quality album. I prefer Pure Heroine personally, but I do recommend this to anyone that likes pop music, and this will probably go down as many people's pop album of the year. Definitely check this album out though, and if you like this review, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm sorry I don't love this album as much as everyone else, but hey, that's sometimes the way it is. And yeah, do check this album out and have a good day.